Get ready. Get set. It's time for the basement view. Well, hey, how's it going, everyone? It is me, Jeff G, and this is the Basement View. How's everybody today? Looks like I'm going to have to try and reset this thing right quick. Looks like maybe a little buffering going on. Yep. Let me see. Let me do a quick reset. Bear with me here. Let's see if this works. See if I can refresh this. And if not, we'll just do it like we always do it. Just, grin and bear it. So, a lot of stuff going on, as you all know. Hey, James, what's happening? Bear with me if we got some buffering. I saw a little bit. Try and let it catch up. Got a slow internet over here. As a matter of fact, I am working on another solution. I've been trying to get together. Hey, Carmen, what's happening? Gonna try and let this thing catch up. Lots of stuff been going on. Y'all already know that, though. I ain't telling nobody nothing new. Let me see if I can try and get this to refresh. I wonder if that's the old YouTube doing that, as usual. But lots of stuff going on. We got, with the scandal, with the war text, the war plans text. And the interesting part of that is the fact that upon questioning all of these people, the first thing they decided to do was lie. I found that part to be the most interesting thing out of all of this. I found that all of these people in this scandal, the first thing they did was decide to lie about it. That's the worst part of it. Everybody decided to lie. I mean, Pete Hegseth, the first thing out of his mouth is nobody texted war plans. And he said this after the White House confirmed the texting went on. That's the sad part about it. That is the saddest part about it. And today, I spent a lot of the day watching the hearings. And Tulsi Gabbard was asked questions. And the sad part is, the senator that was asking her the questions was sitting there with the answers in front of him. And he let her answer the questions and then asked her, hey, I'm going to read this off to you, and you tell me if you want to restate your answer. What you say, Carmen? The crazy part, if it was a Democrat, they would want him to resign. You're absolutely correct. if it was a Democrat, they would want him to resign. And I remember people like John Boehner saying stuff like, what I want to know is who's going to jail. Okay? Remember, lock her up. Well, that's what they wanted to lock Hillary up for. Remember all of that, lock her up? Same stuff. Okay, exact same thing. No, not the exact same thing. She was using a personal server to store information. These people were texting war plans back and forth to each other. Okay? They were texting war plans. Now, there's one little piece of this that's flown under the radar that isn't getting talked about. One of the people in the text chain is a man named Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff was literally in Moscow during this texting. Now, let me ask you a question. A U.S. official in Moscow with his personal telephone texting war plans, you think the Russian hackers didn't see the text message? What you think? I mean, it's safe to say Russia was in on the text. If you think Putin wasn't watching the text as it happened, you crazy. So this is a shame. This is a shame. And it's sad that they control all mechanisms of government. So they're just going to whitewash this all day. I mean, they just sit there and lie, lie, deny it. And the problem is the general public has seen the text messages. We've seen the fact that they were war plans. We've seen the fact that they mentioned what kind of devices were being used, what kind of weapons, what time the bombings were going to be, what time the drone strikes were going to be, what kind of planes were going to be in the air and striking at what time. And Pete Hegseth says no classified information. Now, Tulsi Gabbard said there was no classified information. And when she was literally read the definition of classified information from her federal agency, she's director of intelligence, okay? The director of intelligence. And she could not cite the definition, okay, of classified information. And once she was read this definition from her own agency, her answer was, well, you need to check with Pete Hegseth, to see if it's classified in his agency. You can't make this shit up. She threw Pete Hegseth under the bus, which is where he should be right now. You just can't make this up. This is a sad day. This is a sad day. And what's so bad is everybody who is somebody said from the beginning, you can't put somebody with zero experience in the Secretary of Defense position. Donald Trump putting this man in that position was a big flip you off to America. That's all that was. I'm not going to put, if there was a definition of a DEI hire, it's him. Here's a guy who was a captain in the National Guard and a weekend talk show host. Captain in the National Guard and a weekend talk show host on Fox. And he now runs the nation's entire defense. Tulsi Gabbard now runs the nation's intelligence. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Oh, by the way, Mike Waltz, his foreign advisor, his intelligence advisor, Mike Waltz. You know the name. If you don't know the name, I'm going to tell you who he is. Mike Waltz is the guy that invited the reporter into the chat. Okay? Now, Mike Waltz admits he invited Jeffrey Goldberg into the text. Pete Hegseth immediately attacked Jeffrey Goldberg. How do you attack the guy that was invited in? Of course, this is their MO. But if you don't know who Mike Waltz is, remember the guy that was trying to belittle Zelensky in the Oval Office that time by asking him, hey, do you have a suit? Do you ever wear a suit? Remember that guy? Remember that voice asking, do you ever wear a suit? Do you own a suit? That was Mike Waltz. That was the guy that invited the reporter into the text chat. Okay? Now that is incompetence. It is incompetence at every level. You got one of the people in the text chat, the text chain, in Moscow. He's over there having meetings with Putin on a text chain while they're planning strikes, military strikes. Now, I don't have to tell you, this is something that is usually done in a secure place like a situation room with everybody involved in the same room. Y'all remember the pictures of Obama, doing the raids for bin Laden, where everybody's in the same room. Nobody doing no texting. I'd be willing to bet they couldn't have phones in the room. But this is where we are. This is where we are. So, is anything going to happen to any of them? I don't know. They're calling for Hegseth to resign. He has been literally silly about the whole thing. Every time he stops to answer questions, he's like an idiot. He's like a little silly idiot. Yeah, James, or on secure phones. Yeah, they literally have, government devices to communicate on, And they were warned ahead of time not to use Signal. They were warned not to use Signal. So that's what we stuck with. And that's been taking up the space all day. That's, it is unfortunate that that is so monumentally bad that it takes up the whole space. It was just monumentally bad. That showed the whole world, the entire globe, every other country on the globe is saying, wow, they are really that amateur. That is so amateur that it's unbelievable. So, there you have it. It ain't a lot we can say about it. Ain't a lot we can do about it. I did not get a chance to. I wanted to see what the market looked like today. I did not get a chance to see the ending numbers on the market. Did anybody at all pay attention to the market today? Don't hold my breath on that one, because nothing's gonna happen to either one of them that was involved. Yeah, James, you are probably correct. It is with, I'd say, probably 99.9% that you are absolutely correct. Unfortunately. And the look on Tulsi Gabbard's face, she had this shit-eating grin on her face that said, you can browbeat me all day, but ain't nothing gonna happen to me. Ain't nothing gonna happen to me. I can sit here and lie to you all day. And you can sit there with the evidence that I'm lying. I am perjuring myself to you right here on the cameras while I smile at you, and there's nothing you're gonna do about it. That's the look she had on her face. That's the look she had on her face. We in a sad place. We are in a sad place. The beauty is it's going to get worse. That's the beauty. The beauty is this shit's going to get worse because he also announced tariffs today on automobiles coming from outside of the country. He also announced. That's why I hate I didn't get a chance to check the market. I was really busy today doing stuff. I was actually working on checking out another internet source and some other things, some other technical stuff. I'm going to, look into, investigate. So, did anybody see what well, you know what? I got a phone right here. I'll look at what the ending numbers was today. Let's see. I can probably find it. Yeah, here we go. Let's see what the numbers look like. Let's see. Finished up, what was it trading now? This after hours. Finished up down. Oh, NASDAQ down good. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I guess that would kill the market once you announce more tariffs and on automobiles not built in the United States. So if you plan on buying anything foreign, get them in before the next week. I think he said by next week. So that's that. And I'm sure there's some more craziness going on. The last time we were together, I did not get to. Yeah, I just saw that, James. Ended in the red. Right, and that's good. That's really good. And while I'm talking about the stock market, I want you all to understand something. When when this stock market started going south, and it's come up a bit since then, but it's gonna go back down. And I told you all that I was going to liquidate most of my stocks. I did not liquidate everything. Okay, I liquidated almost all of it. I kept positions in pretty much everything, just a few shares in everything to preserve the settings that I have set. Like if you buy a share of stock and you set your account to reinvest what dividends you get from that stock, well, if you sell all of it, that setting goes away. So I kept a few shares in everything so the settings are preserved. And I still collect minuscule dividends, okay? The main reason, under most circumstances, during a recession, when the stock market goes down, I would never tell anybody to get out. That is the normal time to buy more because it's going to come back up. That's the normal time to buy more stock. Okay, during a recession, when the market is down, that's the time to get in there, keep what you got, don't sell it, keep what you got and buy more. The reason I got out for the most part is because this market downfall is artificial. It was done by one crazy guy in the White House, and it's no telling how bad he can wreck it. Okay? That's the reason I got out. I didn't get out just because it went down. Under normal condition, the stock market always goes down. We always have a recession. And after the recession, the stock market goes back up. So you never sell during that time. You just buy more. That's what creates your wealth. But this was artificial. This was at the whims of a madman, okay, who doesn't care about the market right now because he feels like he controls the purse strings for everything everywhere. And he's got his able-bodied sidekick Moneybags to back him up. Okay? So, understand, that's why I got out of the market. Okay? It wasn't because the market went down. It was because it went down artificially, caused by a knucklehead. Okay? All right. So I'm going to be watching that, and I'm anticipating some rocky roads in the market. I'm going to watch it. We're going to get back in. One of these days, we're going to get back in, and we're going to make some money. You know, and from time to time, I'm going to talk about a few things. Okay? So, last time out, I did not get a chance to discuss Rand Paul. Rand Paul, if you know who he is a senator from Kentucky. And there's two reasons. He wants the market to crash so that his friends can buy cheap and make money. Well, you know, I don't think that's what he's thinking. You could be right. You could be right. His friends are scratching their heads. The same thing happened in Germany, the guy named Adolf Hitler. Well, it was a little different with Hitler, just a little different. But to your point, Carmen, this is a buying opportunity for his friends. You know, yeah, he is kind of stupid. And you are right. This is a great buying opportunity for his friends because they have the amounts of money, and they have trading algorithms. Okay? By now, we should know what algorithms are. Algorithms are programs that do things at intervals for certain reasons set by whoever is using the algorithm. That's why I ask y'all to hit the thumbs up and ring that little bell thing, because that causes an algorithm to go out and draw people to this podcast. And the more you hit the thumbs up, it triggers that algorithm. Well, those traders, his friends, use computers with algorithms that will detect the market going up, and the opposite of what you think happens. When that market starts to go up, they sell. Okay? They don't buy then. They sell. And when the market starts to go down, they have algorithms that get triggered, points at which they start buying. They start buying on the way down, and then they start selling on the way up. Okay? So, yes, it does work for his friends like that. The bad part about it is they don't like it when they don't know what he's going to do. They don't like it when it's uncertain. See, that's what makes them crazy. The market does not like uncertainty. They like to know everything's okay in the political world. Nobody's doing anything crazy. Let's just make this money, you know. And he's ruining that. So, for the immediate time being, it's going to be rocky road in the investment world. I mean, imagine, of course the market's going to be down today. These people just got caught texting war secrets back and forth to each other. Who in the hell would text war secrets back and forth? Especially one of the guys is in Moscow. Take that and add it to the fool putting on tariffs. Okay? Let's add tariffs to an already weakening economy. Okay? The Fed already said they're not going to lower interest rates right now. Everybody wants the interest rates to go down. Okay? Because when the interest rates go down, that spurs car buying, house buying, credit card buying. So we're not getting low interest rates. The other thing it spurs, okay, understand something. When I told you about buying the stocks, when you buy real estate investment trusts, I'm going to tell you this again. Write this name down. Get this name stuck in your head. Real estate investment trust. Look that up. Look the term up. Learn it, learn it, learn it. Okay? Look it up. Understand what it means. All right? Real estate investment trusts, they thrive when the interest rates go down. Okay? They can weather the storm when the interest rates go up. But they thrive when the interest rates go down because they are part of the financial sector. Remember, I told you sectors are what you would call categories. And the financial sector thrives in low interest rate environments. Okay? Put a pin in that. Look it up. Watch CNBC. I'm gonna keep saying this. Even through this volatile, crazy market, watch Bloomberg, CNBC, Reuters, Schwab Network. Watch one of them. Okay, I would say Fox Business. I used to watch Fox Business a lot. Learned quite a bit. But Fox Business has even turned radical. And I was like, how you mess up a business channel? They were purely about business. And they kind of ruined that too. So, but pay attention to that stuff. Talking about storms, he's shutting down FEMA. Carmen, you paying attention? Yeah, he's shutting down FEMA. Guess what's on fire right now? North and South Carolina. You know, wouldn't you know it? Right when you're shutting FEMA down and sending people home and taking the money away, you know, wouldn't we get some wildfires run through two nicely populated states who just happen to be red states? You know, it couldn't have happened at a better time. And I feel for the people. As a matter of fact, I think they're under a red watch right about now. I don't think it's really gotten out of hand yet. And I hope not a lot of people lose their property. I did see one person, I saw a report of one person who just got back home from the flooding. He could not get to his house because the bridge to his neighborhood was wiped out. That's the only story I saw so far. And he was just able to get back to his house. They evacuated, and he was able to watch his house burn down on TV. So my prayers go to that guy. I hate that this had to happen. And I hope the Carolinas have a really nice fund set aside to help them out. I hope they got a nice big fat fund, emergency fund, to help their people and fight those fires. Because you ain't getting nothing from FEMA. Ain't no FEMA coming. Ain't no FEMA folks coming around the corner in the vans, popping up the tents, bringing the water. You know, if you're thirsty, suck your spit, motherfucker. Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't do this. I'm sorry. I shouldn't do this. You know. Sorry about that. Anyway. Yeah. No FEMA. No FEMA for you. The FEMA Nazi says. Hey, the FEMA Nazi. How about that? So anyway, I'm sorry, I got caught up in that thought. The fact that North and South Carolina are on fire and they can't call their famous, their fearless leader. You know, that's that's funny to me. I'm sorry. Anyway, so I don't wanna bask in their problems. Like Rush Limbaugh. Yeah, James. Reminiscent, huh? Reminiscent of old Rush Limbaugh. I used to call him Rush Dunbar. Anyway, man, this guy's ruining everything. But there's this one part of me that is just rooting for disaster. Come on, destroy it all. Come on, destroy it all. You know, there's so much buyer's remorse going on. junior money bags that Trump has been relying on just got bad news. Canada has written a law, passed a law, removing Tesla from ever getting any subsidies or EV credits. For those of you who don't know, a lot of governments, not most, but a lot of governments give out tax credits to buy EVs, electric vehicles, and Tesla got caught cheating. They're in the midst of a scandal up in Canada. So they just got what, 30 some odd $1 million frozen. And they just got frozen out of ever getting any of those tax credits or subsidies anymore. So while their stock price was going down, and I meant to check that just now, while their stock price was going down, they were lying about the number of cars they were selling in Canada. Imagine that. So they could hurry up and cash in on some tax subsidies up there. And they got busted. Let's see, what was Tesla today? Oh yeah, it's down. It had got a good bump over the last few weeks, few days, but it was down today. So, wow. It's either farther down after I was trading. Wow. Ouch. Okay. Anyway, so hooray for Canada for putting their thumb on those bugs. So that is also what's been going on. So anyway, I did want to get to Rand Paul and the media because I did not get to address this the last time out. Rand Paul, whom you may know, is Kentucky senator, and he was on what was that? What was that? He was on Face the Nation last weekend. Now, if you don't remember who Rand Paul is the senator that pissed his constituents off so bad. One of his constituents rode up on a riding mower and kicked his ass at his house. If you don't, if you don't recall. So that's who Rand Paul is. The reason I want to play this clip, and I've gotten completely away from this evening's talk, but I want to play this clip because I want to talk about journalism again. Now, watch this clip and listen to the question and watch what Rand Paul does. Okay? Listen to the questions and watch what Rand Paul does and says. Okay? And this, I want you to understand how bad this gets under my skin, that our journalists are so piss poor today. They are so pitiful, it is amazing. Watch this exchange between Margaret Brennan and Rand Paul, and we'll talk about it.
I want to ask you about the Department of Education. States, as everyone I think knows, provide the majority of the funding and oversight for your local schools. But Kentucky, when we looked at the numbers, gets the fourth most federal education funding per student of any state in this country. You have over 900 schools that have these Title I programs, which are low-income schools who need that federal subsidy to continue to operate. How are schools going to get that money if the president closes the education department?
I think the bigger question, if we're sending all this money to Kentucky and all the other states, why are our scores abysmal? Why do 2/3 of the kids not read at proficiency? Why do 2/3 of the kids or more not have math proficiency? So
Isn't that up to the
utter
state?
failure. What I'd like to let me finish. I'd leave it back to the states. It has always been a position, a very mainstream Republican position, to have control of the schools by the states, send the money back to the states, or better yet, never take it from the states.
Yep.
About half of our budget in Kentucky goes to education, and that's the same in a lot of states. I think we can handle it much better. When I talk to teachers, they chafe at the national mandates on testing they think are not appropriate for their kids. They think they waste too much time teaching
Right.
to national testing. The teachers would like more autonomy, and I think the teachers deserve more autonomy.
But when we looked at the budget in Kentucky, the state receives $2 billion in federal education funding. Do you have a guarantee that the federal government, federal taxpayers will still provide $2 billion in education funding? That seems important to your state.
I'd rather, well, no, what I'd rather is a guarantee that my kids can read and write and do math. The amount of dollars, look, the number of dollars has gone up exponentially and our scores have gone the other way. So dollars are not proportional to educational success. What I want is success. And I've talked a lot about this. I think there are innovations we can do where there's more learning via some of the best teachers and we pay them more. I would like to have an NBA or NFL of teachers, the most extraordinary teachers, teach the entire country.
Who would run that? The education department?
Some of them. No, what you'd find is they'd be selected out, state by state, across the nation. Look, people say, oh, with the Department of Education would have no testing. I was in school before then. We did achievement tests in the 6th grade, the 5th grade, the 8th grade, and we compared ourselves across state lines. There were international testing.
Yeah.
You don't need the Department of Education for any of that. But what I can tell you is the best teacher in the world is not teaching the kids.
Yeah.
What we need to do is have the best teachers and pay them more, but they wouldn't
Yes.
teach 30 kids. They might teach 10 million kids at a time because it would be presented through the internet with local teachers reinforcing the lessons.
Well, I'm sure we'll be talking more about this. Senator Paul, thank you for your time today. We'll be right back.
Okay. All right, let's unwrap that. Let's unwrap that. First of all, did he even attempt to answer the question that she asked him? Did he even attempt to answer it? He immediately dismissed her question. Immediately. Did she stop him and say, hey, that's not what the hell I asked you? Did she stop him and say, hey, look here, this my show. I decide what the question is. I asked you this question. How about answering the question that I asked you? Now, while he's spitting out all this gobbledygook, you hear her in the background going, yeah. Not once did this so-called journalist, this professional journalist, interrupt him and say, that's not what I asked you. Can you answer the question that I asked you? That's the problem with our journalists. That's where our media is today. Okay? That's where our media is today. She did not even challenge him when he got to the most ridiculous stuff he could have been saying. Because, wait for it. Remember, I said this is Rand Paul from Kentucky. Okay? Rand Paul is a libertarian from Kentucky. When he started talking about the best teachers and paying them more and having millions of kids learning through the internet, Her head should have exploded. This guy is one of the biggest people who have opposed paying teachers more, opposing children learning online. Remember during the pandemic how against learning online they were? And this jackass had the nerve to say millions of people, millions of kids could be learning online and you could be paying teachers more? Rand Paul said that? I wonder how many people in his staff and at his house was laughing their ass off as he made the answer to that question. I bet they was like, did he just say that shit? Rand Paul? Pay the teachers more? I bet he got emails after he left there talking about, what the hell you talking about paying teachers more? Where you get that shit from? Students learning online on the internet, where the hell you get that shit from? We don't want no shit like that. We taking education away. And this journalist did not press him not one time on any of it. You know why? Because if you do that, he won't come back. Yes, Carmen, he is a hypocrite. Absolutely a hypocrite. I couldn't believe it came out of his mouth. He's the biggest opponent of paying anybody more for any reason. And children learning online? Remember how they were all crying during the pandemic. We got to get those schools open. We don't want kids learning online. Because the dumb motherfuckers in Kentucky did not have the infrastructure in place for kids to learn online. All of a sudden now kids can learn online. And she did not press him 1 second. Yes, absolutely. Carmen, absolutely. When you have a online learning environment, yes, you need to have personal contact with someone who can answer your questions and nudge you in the right direction. Absolutely. Absolutely. I guarantee you, they're not going to be trying to pay him more. Who said that? I guarantee you he'll fall on the side of not paying them more. Okay, to monitor those kids. Absolutely, you need people there that can answer questions. Absolutely. You need people there that can provide examples. You cannot have an absolute online learning experience by no means. Trust me, when I got my degree, a lot of it was online. I would say some of the roughest time I had that online shit, and I had a couple of instructors that was not very helpful at all. So I get it. I understand like you wouldn't believe. Okay? So, but this is my biggest problem here, though, was not the hypocrite sitting in the chair. The hypocrite sitting in the chair was doing what hypocrites do. He's been a professional hypocrite for years, okay? My biggest problem was the journalist that would not check him on any of it. This man left her question from the first word out of his mouth. From the first word out of his mouth. And she could not check him because she knows if she presses him, he won't come back on her show. And that's worse than anything else. Please come back on the show. If you come back on the show, I'll let you gaslight me the entire time. I'll ask you questions and you can ignore the shit out of my question and throw any answer out there. But I can at least say I interviewed Rand Paul. I interviewed senators on my show and governors on my show and congressmen, representatives, and mayors and dignitaries. Damn the fact that they all gaslit my ass. They blew so much smoke up my ass till I looked like a smokestack on top of a fucking steel mill. That's the problem. That's the problem. Our media is not local media anymore. Our media is run by corporations that have CEOs and boardrooms, and they dictate how much leeway their journalists get. Because the CEOs, hey, y'all remember what Channel 7 did? Y'all remember what Channel 7 did? ABC, not Channel 7, but ABC. Channel 7 is the local thing. ABC is the network. Remember last summer when Donald Trump sued ABC? ABC is a subsidiary of Disney. Donald Trump sued ABC for telling the truth about him. They literally told the truth. There was no defamation, nothing. You could have won the case without even going to court. You could have sent the lawyer in. Hey, did he say this? Yes, he said that. Y'all reported he said that? Yeah, we reported he said that. Case closed. What did they do? They settled. Was it 10 million? 15 million? They settled. Scared to go to court with Donald Trump. Scared of him. You were absolutely in the right. Could have won the case with no problem. Corporate boardroom. Well, we don't want to get him upset. This is what we got going on in journalism today. This is American journalism. We had a journalist who was invited into a text chain where they were swapping information about war actions, military actions. And what does the Secretary of Defense do? When he walks off the plane, he starts belittling the reporter. After he fucked up, he starts belittling the reporter. That's where we are. The same thing, what you say, James? The same thing happened in Germany when a man named Adolf Hitler was in charge. The news media in Germany did the same thing. Well, yes. Yeah. It was slightly different in that they took over the media. Now, don't get this guy no ideas, brother, okay? Don't get his fool no ideas. See, when Hitler rolled in, they took the media over. Okay, so the only thing coming out of the media was what they were saying. Okay, so, they had what was called the brown shirts. The brown shirts came in and they just went to work. Okay. So don't get this fool no ideas, because when I see the brown shirts start showing up, hey man, I'm gonna blame you. I'm gonna say, hey man, you gave that fool that idea. So y'all know, hey, if y'all see the vans riding up, the brown shirts with the skull caps hopping out, y'all know who to blame. It's James' fault. So, but, we got media that's got their hands tied behind their back. When you ask a question to a liar, what do you expect to get? When you ask a person that you know is going to lie. Now, what do you expect? There's an author by the name of Richard Wolfe. He's one of those investigative authors. I suppose I fucked that word up about 3 different ways. But he's got a new book out. And let's have a listen to his take on Donald Trump just before we get out of here. Let's have Michael Wolff's take on Donald Trump. Bear with me here. Check it out.
Michael Wolff's first book on the Trump White House was an international sensation that sold millions of copies and garnered plenty of controversy. His follow-up book is also being criticized, largely about sourcing, and once again has Washington abuzz. Siege, Trump Under Fire is out today and takes place just after his celebrated Fire and Fury. Just before airtime, I spoke with Michael Wolfe about the controversy surrounding his new book and the details in it. All right, so your book, much like your previous book, is getting a lot of attention and creating a fair amount of controversy. One of the reasons this time is because of the sourcing. And you told the New York Times you don't reach out for comment for some of the people you write about because, and I quote, "I don't actually believe if you know the answer, it is necessary to go through the motions of getting an answer that you are absolutely certain of." How is that responsible?
Let me give you an example. Should I call up Fox News and say, are you biased for Donald Trump? Obviously, we know what they would say. They would say, in fact, no, we're not biased toward Donald Trump.
But should you call Fox News and ask them, did they provide the questions to Brett Kavanaugh in the interview with Martha McCallum, which you write about in this book?
No, I knew exactly what they've said because I've actually had this discussion with them in many other situations. Remember, I've been covering the media for 20 years. And I knew that they would say no, and I knew absolutely that they did.
Okay. You include a lot of salacious stories in here, not just stories like that and anecdotes in the book. At a certain point, you don't think you need to reach out to some of the people in these anecdotes and ask them if it's true?
I think this was misconstrued. I often reach out to people. If there's any doubt, if there's any more information I can get, I'm on the phone. I'm talking to people all of the time. However, if it's a situation which I have to go into and I know the answer, I know they're going to lie to me. Remember, this is Trump world. Everybody in it is, what would be the word? A liar. This is, what's the mantra of Trump world? I would say it's deny.
But journalistically, if you were writing in a newspaper, you would reach out and you would include that denial.
Important point. I am not writing in a newspaper. And that is a fundamental thing. And the idea that all journalism should be the same, that there aren't different forms, that there aren't different approaches, is ridiculous, actually, and not good for journalism.
I guess there are some people who say there are serious questions raised, though, when the sourcing is not clear. In some parts of the book, the sourcing is crystal clear. In other parts, the sourcing isn't transparent at all.
And again, I think that there is a lot of sourcing that is not clear here, that it's not going to be clear here, because that's my deal with my sources.
You write in the author's note that this book is meant to look at an emotional state rather than a political state. You note that this isn't supposed to be a political book purely. So what exactly do you mean by that?
I mean, I'm trying to give a picture of what Trump world is. And speaking of an emotional state, I think it's a crazy place. I think it has logic long since left this world.
So you write a great deal about Steve Bannon, and he is quoted on the record a great deal. He's your main avenue, your main window into Trump world. I think it's fair to say.
I call him my Virgil, as in a descent into hell.
What is his current relationship with the president?
I think it's a very complicated relationship. They spend a lot of time thinking about one another, wondering if they should go back to working together, both of them saying that they would never go back to working together. Steve is still the bedrock of a lot of the policies that the Trump administration is pursuing. In many ways, they continue to pursue them, or they don't wander off in other directions. Donald Trump doesn't, because Steve is always pressing this agenda.
But their conversations are through intermediaries or through smoke signals, correct? They don't actually speak?
That is, that's what Steve says. They don't actually speak.
And haven't spoken.
That is what Steve says, yes.
I want to ask you some specifics about what Steve Bannon said, again, on the record, because it is fascinating. This gets to the idea of the investigations into the Trump businesses. There was a suggestion that the president's personal company is a semi-criminal enterprise, and Bannon responded to you, I think we can drop the semi part. So was he joking, or what do you think he meant there? Because you write that he did chuckle when he said it.
I think that he's perfectly straightforward about this. And he's perfectly straightforward about, I think, the way that most people who have been around Donald Trump believe. They believe that Donald Trump's long career has been I would say semi-criminal career. Steve Bannon would say lose the semi.
So does he have direct knowledge of that, do you think, or just suspect it at this point?
No, I think he probably has. Yeah, I suspect he does have direct knowledge of that.
Okay. So, just as Mr. Wolfe just indicated, why ask a liar a question? If you know you talking to a liar, why question a liar? Find somebody that's willing to come on your show and tell the truth. Okay? Find some people to talk. We don't have to hear the lies all day. The White House press secretary talks to the media any kind of way. You know what? Hey, man, you just hit on one hell of a point. Man, I'd slap the shit out that chick if she talked to me the way she talked to some of them people. You gotta have you seen the way she talks to some of those people? Man. And you put yourself in the press room to be treated like that. Every day, asking questions to a person who is going to lie right to your face and talk crazy to you on top of it. Why do we have anybody in that room? Now, we know Fox News is in the room. We know Christian Broadcasting Network is in the room. Moody Radio is in the room. Newsmax is in the room. One America is in the room. They love every bit of it. They write down every answer and go spit it out to their people. They write down every answer. They record it. Yes, yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. Tell us more. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm going to go spit it out. I'm going to go regurgitate this garbage to my listeners. Okay? That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, 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 yeah. So we know they're going to do that. But the real journalists out there, they should be out interviewing real sources. You know, those sources behind the scenes that'll tell the truth and hold their sources under wraps. You know, that's what they should do. Get back to the good old-fashioned journalism. Okay? That's what they ought to do. But who am I? You know? I'm right here with y'all listening to that bullshit, okay? I'm right here in the same boat with y'all. So anyway, I got completely away from my stuff that I was gonna do. Anyway, I done went over. Oh well. Hey, I appreciate y'all hanging in there with me. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. Hey, one quick question before I go for anybody that's listening. My next episode, which will be Friday, will be the 100th episode. I got a question. Should I drop the numbers? I've been actually putting the numbers up there, and this is episode 99. Should I drop the numbers or keep putting the numbers up there? You tell me, you know. And I'll ask this question again Friday. Let me know what you think. Should I just drop the numbers? You know, because looking at episode 99 is really tripping me out. I did not even expect to be gone this far. So, anyway, I'll ask that again Friday. Y'all take it easy. Thank you, my brother. I'll see y'all Friday, 7 p.m. Yeah, the 100th. Absolutely. Thank you, Carmen. And we'll talk again then. Y'all take it easy.